A very good evening to you. And welcome along to another Sweet and Swing here on Max Radio on a Friday evening. My name's Howard Kane, and it is always a pleasure to have your company. What have we got? How about some Joe Daniels and his Hot Shots, The Drummer Goes to Town. Some Ella, never go wrong with some Ella. Coleman, Hawkins, The Hawk. George Shearing. A request, no less. But to get us going, who is for a quick shot of tequila?
I met my friend Manuelo and we had a glass of wine. I asked him to come with me, had two girlfriends on the line. He said, my wife, I love her, she's an angel in disguise. I said, my friend, you're lucky, my wife is still alive.
Tequila, tequila, one drink you never feel. Tequila, tequila, the second drink may kill ya.
I found a nice hotel room, just the kind that I would love. But only one thing wrong, there was no ceiling up above.
I told the hotel manager, be sure put me in Dutch. He said the guy upstairs is nice, he don't walk around too much.
Tequila, tequila, one drink you never feel.
Tequila, tequila, the second drink may kill ya.
I bought a shiny car which was so pretty and so new. My brother bet me money if I do a trick or two. I drove between two trolley cars, the bet so I could win. Would anybody like to buy a car that's tall and thin?
Tequila, tequila, one drink you never feel. Tequila, tequila, the second drink may kill ya.
Tequila, tequila, the second drink may kill ya.
Oh, I'm loving the sound of the crackles off that transcription as well as the congas disappear off. Wonderful Latin rhythm going there. Infectious, I would hazard a guess at. For some people anyway, I think it is. It certainly gets my feet going. Any sort of Latin rhythm like that with the congas, maybe some, definitely congas. There were some bongos in the background, or is it bongos up front and congas in the background maybe, with the higher notes of those. Yeah, great way to get going. A shot of tequila, which hopefully doesn't kill anyone indeed. A long time since I've had a tequila, although I do seem to recall, back in the day, we had a bit of a thing, a phase on tequila sunrises, which was, from memory, it's tequila orange juice and grenadine. And actually, I'm not a great cocktail man, but it was rather nice. Well, Ted Heath getting us going, a band leader who had a great hit in the USA and a super popular band leader after World War II, probably the most popular band leader, I would think. Ted Heath, who left us in the late 1960s, I think 1969, and decades as a side band, and then formed his own band at the end of the war, 1945. And Tequila, of course, we heard him, became a regular feature in the 50s for Duncan Campbell. Although the vocal on the recording we just heard is by, would you guess, Jack Parnell. Yeah, Jack Parnell, one of the original members of the band who remained with it until the final concert given as recently as 2000, the year 2000, in a packed Royal Festival Hall, which surely is a measure of the loyalty that the Heath band inspired. Not surprisingly, really, it was wonderful music. It still sounds, he embraced the swing era, but it still had that sort of modernistic sound. So he moved with the times, I think, to a large degree, and some great music as well, some great arrangements, some great playing, of course, all round. And I think there's still plenty of Ted Heath fans out there. And Jack Parnell, remember him? Wonderful stuff back in the day. And was that Sunday Night at the Palladium? Was Jack Parnell on that? I seem to recall watching him as a child on a Sunday, I'm sure it was. I'm not sure it was, but someone will tell me, and if you can, do so, howardkane@manxradio.com. I think it was Sunday Night at the Palladium, Jack Parnell was on, wasn't it? I do remember seeing him, and I think he came over here at one stage with the Manx Jazz Club or such like. I'm fairly certain I have met Jack Parnell at some stage, or it might be a few years ago, and by few years, I mean more than 40. It all starts to blur a little bit after a while, doesn't it? Very good. Enjoy that one. Going back a wee bit, as you might well have gathered there. Heaven for Two, recorded this month, but in 1928. 1928, which is what, 96 years ago? Does that sound about right? I think it does, doesn't it? Good Lord. Heaven for Two. Harry Hudson's Melody Men. Great stuff. Heaven for Two. Indeed, Heaven for Two. A good voice, doesn't he? He worked for Vocalion back in the day. Harry Hudson, funnily enough, died the same year as Ted Heath, would you believe? You might not, but there we go. His records were released under, count them, 20, at least, possibly more, different pseudonyms. You could have been listening to Harry Hudson all your life and never have actually known. He had so many different pseudonyms, presumably for contractual reasons and recording for different labels and such like. Here, on that particular record, he's credited as director and vocalist under his own real name. That was a rarity, I can tell you. And in late years, he became very well known as the pianist in a radio show, Have a Go, with Mr. Wilfred Pickles. I wouldn't mind betting a few people remember that. I don't remember it, I have to confess. I know of it, and I know Wilfred Pickles, the name, rather than actually remembering it, if that sort of makes sense. But again, if you do, and you've got any other musical memories, let me know. Howard Kane at manxradio.com, Caine, because we do like to do, and we can do the odd request or play music that will make people happy. We will. And I know we've got people listening all over the world, because I can see it via the wonder of the web and the podcast. So nice to check that out. People in the States, people still in New Zealand, someone out in the Philippines, I think. Not Father Sean anymore, but if any of the regulars, Father Sean is a little bit closer to home these days. Very good evening to you, Father. Drop us a line any time with any thoughts you might have. Or John, who's a bit closer to home on the Isle of Man. Haven't heard from you for a while, John, if you've got anything you'd like to hear. But I think it's Paul has got a bit of a request coming up very shortly after Mr. Lionel Hampton, who is flying. I think he's always flying, Lionel Hampton. And in this case, he's flying at the Olympia. Oh my lordy. I think after that we need a lullaby.
Oh, lullaby of birdland, that's what I always hear when you sigh. Never in my wordland could there be words to reveal in a phrase how I feel. Have you ever heard two turtle doves bill and coo when they love? That's the kind of magic music we get from our lips when we kiss. And there's a weepy old willow, he really knows how to cry. That's how I cry in my pillow. If you should tell me farewell and goodbye, lullaby of birdland, whisper low, kiss me sweet, then we'll go flying high in birdland, high in the sky up above, all because we're in love. Lullaby, lullaby, spinning dun 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 dun. Have you ever heard two turtle doves bill and coo when they love? That's the kind of magic music we get from our lips when we kiss. And there's a weepy old willow, he really knows how to cry. That's how I cry in my pillow. If you should tell me farewell and goodbye, lullaby of birdland, whisper low, kiss me sweet, then we'll go flying high in birdland, high in the sky up above. And it's all because we're in love.
Well, that's not a bad twofer, is it? Lionel Hampton and Ella Fitzgerald both live, as you can probably tell from the rapturous applause. Don't you just wish you were there? They would have been gigs to see, wouldn't they, eh? First off, Lionel flying at the Olympia. And that's the Olympia in Paris, not the Olympia in London, I have to say. With his band, or with his orchestra, I should say more accurately, in 1956, January of that year. Cracking stuff, wasn't it? And they were absolutely lapping it up, the audience, loving it. They were going wild in the solos and wild in between and wild for Lionel, loving it, and scarcely less enthusiastic for Ella. An amazing band. I won't go through them all with Lionel, but yeah, Billy Brooks, Dave Gonzalez, Ed Mullins, Lionel himself, not playing the drums in that case, just doing the vibes on that one, of course. Although, of course, very good drummer, as you probably know, but actually Albert June Gardner playing drums on that one. I don't know why his nickname or middle name was June, which normally isn't a gent's name, but there'll be some great story behind it, I have absolutely no doubt. And then, of course, Ella Fitzgerald. Who else? Lullaby of Birdland. What a voice. I could listen to her all night, I must admit. Some of those classic vocalists, Ella and Billy and Sarah. Good stuff. Do drop me a line and let me know what you would like to hear, or any stories, or of course the old Faraway Club, if you are listening via the pod in, say, Africa, or Austria, or America, or Antarctica. Could be. Then let me know where you are, what you're doing, and what you'd like to hear. Now then, I do have, I mentioned earlier on, a lovely little request from Paul, I think it is. Pete here. Fairly sure it's Paul, isn't it? I seem to recall. Hi, yes, sir. Not often you get that at the start of a letter. It's so rare for me to say that, he says, and it fills me with good feelings. Me too. Anyway, I've been in hospital since Friday. This was as of my birthday on the 6th of October, in actual fact, when I was... No, I'm not going to say. So I hope it's not too late, Paul. I do hope you're out of hospital by now, though, but recuperating. I've been in hospital since Friday after having my right hip resurfaced. OK, you'll definitely still be recovering then. That's not going to heal up in a couple of days, is it? So we're still fairly timely. My wonderful wife, Jay, has been taking such good care of me. Quite right, Jay. Keep it up. Well done. A nice glass of Lucozade, or perhaps something stronger. A bit of cheese, that sort of thing. and I'll be depending on her after discharge for a few weeks. Yeah, well, that's what good partners are for, isn't it? Can you play The Look of Love by Nina Simone for Jay so she knows how grateful I am and how much I love her?
The look of love is in your eyes. The look your smile can't disguise. The look of love is saying so much more than these words could ever say. And what my heart has heard, well, it takes my breath away. I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to love you. Now that I have found you, you've got the look of love. It's on your face, a look that time can't erase. Be mine tonight. Let this be just the start of so many nights like this. Let's take a lover's vow and then seal it with a kiss. I can hardly wait to hold you, feel my arms around you. How long I have waited just to hold you. Now that I have found you, don't ever go. I love you so.
What a voice. Great tune as well. And I hope, Paul, that in some tiny way will keep you cheerful as you recover from your hip resurfacing, and that Jay enjoyed that with you and enjoyed it as much as you did. And I hope all gets well soon. And keep listening. Marvellous. Good choice. Best wishes. Okay, now, I mentioned Joe Daniels and his Hot Shots at the beginning of the programme. Because I thought, we haven't heard from Joe for a while, and I pulled one out which clearly someone had done for the old maestro back in the day. A friend of his had actually, I think, copied a record, and as people did in the day, I'm not suggesting you should do it now. Drummer Goes to Town, Vocalion, Joe Daniels and his Hot Shots in Drumsticks. Wonderful. So I thought, yes, we'll hear a bit of that. When I open it up, however, it's an entirely different CD. It sometimes happens after sort of the old maestro moved on to music halls new and higher, I dare say, and hopefully is having a wild time wherever they may be. And I resurrected as many of the CDs and collections of music that he's used over the years up to Manx Radio. They did at some stage quite get into some disarray, and I'm gradually trying to bring them back into array. But it's an uphill battle, it has to be said. And sometimes things are sometimes they're sort of misfiled, and other times they're completely in the wrong box, some of these CDs. You just got to go with it, I think, sometimes. And hope for the best. So, instead of Joe Daniels, we'll have Lou Stone.
shed a tear in the gloom of your dark and lonely room.
Which, curiously, is where it stops on this collection of Mel Torme. Interesting one, this. Inasmuch as it's actually listed as nothing to do but shed a tear, which is pretty much the entire lyrics that Mel Torme sings there, at 25 seconds. Is it his shortest song ever? I suspect not, because I think it segues straight into this and has perhaps been miscatalogued. There's a lot of miscataloguing going on today, because surely it goes straight into Poor Little Extra Girl. Have a listen.
Taunted, hating, haunted, waiting, praying for a break to come along. Every little plan went wrong. Poor little extra girl, hoping someday, somehow, someway, you will show the world what you can do. Fortune hasn't smiled on you. Poor little extra girl, you go from day to day in a job that can't be lasting. Sit by the phone and hope for a call from Central, casting, though you've denied it, you can't hide it. You are so unhappy as you are. You may never be a star. Poor little extra girl. No use crying, just keep trying. Rome was never finished in a day. If you think that's an old cliche, wait till your dreams unfurl and no more you're a poor little extra girl.
Well, interesting that one, isn't it? The Velvet Fog, of course. Wonderful. Mel Torme. Great voice. You can see why it's called The Velvet Fog. It is sort of that wonderfully velvety, rich, honey tones that seemed to sort of drape over you like a fog. Wonderful. Great voice he had, and great music as well. And interesting that, yeah, I'm pretty certain that Nothing to Do But Shed a Tear at 25 seconds was just an intro he'd put in to Poor Little Extra Girl. Maybe it was just an improvised intro, I don't know, for the California Suite from 1957. Either way, I did think it was a very short track. And I think they're probably best together, really, but that's not the way they've been catalogued on 4 classic albums on Avid from Mel Torme, of course, from his California Suite of 1957 version. Thanks to our friends at Avid, as always, and to Mel. Cracking stuff. I promised you some Coleman Hawkins, Close Your Eyes, and He Shall Appear. That lopes along under its own strength, doesn't it? Very nice. Well, lopes along under its own sort of momentum, I should say, I suppose. Just has that nice, light, airy feel. Doesn't feel like there's any effort involved in making the music. I always love that sort of sound. Coleman, Hawkins, the Hawk, with a cracking group, as you might well imagine. The Hawk himself on tenor sax, Milt Jackson on vibraharp, Tommy Flanagan at the piano, the wonderful Kenny Burrell at guitar, Eddie Jones bass, and Connie Kay, modern jazz group's drummer, behind the kit. Or the modern jazz quartet, MJQ. It is H with you, Sweet and Swing. More to come still yet, so don't go anywhere. You can make supper after we're finished. Or maybe. You can always listen back to it on the podcast afterwards, many times as you want, I dare say. Bit of George Shearing to come, but before that, how about a little bit of Ambrose? Never go wrong with some Ambrose, and we're not going to go wrong either.
I thought the day you left me behind I'd take a stroll and get you right off my mind, but now I find that I don't want to walk without the sunshine. Why do you have to turn off all that sunshine? Oh, baby, please come back or you'll break my heart for me, 'cause I don't want to walk without you, no siree.
Ambrose and Anne Shelton, with that lovely, rich, sort of plummy voice that she had. Pat Sibley, of course, she was born in the early 1920s with an unusually deep voice, as it's remarked. Well, yeah, it's plummy and deep, and it is quite different, isn't it? Born in Dulwich, South London, and her teachers refused to let her sing in the choir. That's a bit harsh, isn't it? Just like Vera Welsh, we know who that is, in North London a few years earlier, and indeed Kathleen Ferrier in Lancashire a few years before that. Refused to sing in the choir because of their voices, and yet they did rather do well with their voices. in latter years. Pat later became Anne Shelton, of course, and Vera became Vera Lynn, and they also became very good wartime friends, despite lots of rumours to the contrary. They were actually pally. I'm sure there must have been a bit of competition, but they were pals as well. You can be in competition and pally, and Ferrier went on to become perhaps the greatest contralto of the 20th century. Pat's mature voice was heard by Billy Ternant, who invited her to sing with Jack Hilton's band. He was the deputy leader then, so in January 1936, accompanied by her mother, still wearing her school gym slip, it's claimed, Pat turned up at the studio to record Moanin' Minnie just 2 months after her 12th birthday. Would that be allowed now? I don't know. And soon after leaving school, she appeared as a discovery on BBC's Monday Night at 8, where she was heard by Ambrose, and he immediately invited the now 16-year-old Pat to join him at the Mayfair Hotel. And in no time at all, Anne Shelton was a wartime favourite of Winston Churchill, Bing Crosby, Glenn Miller, and millions of servicemen up and down the country. Unmistakable, if a little late. September in the rain. Had the right sentiment. We're just a little bit late with that one, aren't we? George Shearing, of course, with his quintet, moved to the States in 1949 and settled there permanently. Founded this quintet, which to become extremely popular and famous with his own original formula, as you heard there, with vibes Marjorie Hyams, guitar Chuck Wayne, double bass John Levy and drums Denzel Best. And it was an amazingly successful formula, became famous throughout the world with that great sort of sound of it's cool, hints of bebop and halfway between jazz and cocktail music. That's about it for another week, I dare say. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time. Don't forget to check out Jumping In if you get a chance with Brother Chris next week, the best in modern contemporary jazz. I'm going to leave you with Petula Clark to say nighty night. See you then.
Nighty night until tomorrow. Nighty night. Oh, what sweet sorrow. To be parting, dear, from you, with a farewell kiss or two. Nighty night. While my arms take you nighty night till birdies wake you. Dream of me and just sleep tight, darling.